For 17 years, opening the mail was a gamble with death. Between 1978 and 1995, an unknown assailant sent a series of increasingly lethal explosives to universities and airlines, paralyzing the country with a threat that could arrive on any doorstep. The response was a massive mobilization of federal law enforcement. The Unabomber task force grew into a sprawling operation, eventually involving over 150 full-time investigators from the FBI, the ATF, and the Postal Inspection Service. After every detonation, teams of experts descended on the wreckage. They sifted through charcoal and twisted metal in cities across the nation, searching for any physical clue that could identify the man behind the attacks. But the evidence never came. Agents conducted thousands of interviews and followed tens of thousands of leads, yet the file for a primary suspect remained empty for nearly 2 decades. The Bureau was hunting a ghost. This stalemate resulted in the longest and most expensive manhunt in FBI history, a 17-year investigation that had yielded nothing but more victims. The bomber was a master of forensic evasion. He handcrafted his devices from scrap wood and common hardware, even going as far as to peel the metallic skins off batteries to hide their batch numbers. This lack of trace evidence was total. As shown here, every traditional marker, from fingerprints to DNA, was meticulously absent. There were no hair follicles, no skin cells, and no unique chemical signatures to track. Standard criminology relies on the physical mistakes a suspect leaves behind. Because this bomber made none, the FBI realized they had to find a new category of evidence, one that existed entirely outside the blast radius. The break came in 1995. The bomber broke his silence, sending a 35,000-word typed manifesto to the media. He promised to stop the killings if a major newspaper published his words in full. After a tense debate between federal agents and national editors, the decision was made to comply. The hope was that the author's voice would be recognized where his face had not been. This move introduced a relatively unknown field to the investigation: forensic linguistics. The focus shifted from what the bomber was saying to how he chose to say it. Analysts began hunting for linguistic quirks, habits of speech that a writer cannot easily hide. They found one in the author's use of a common proverb. Instead of saying, "have your cake and eat it too," he used an archaic version, "eat your cake and have it too." This specific phrasing is a linguistic signature. It's a habit of thought that remains consistent, even when a suspect is trying to remain anonymous. The author meant for this document to be a warning to the world. Instead, he had provided investigators with the largest collection of unintentional evidence in the history of the case. Hundreds of miles away, David Kaczynski read the published text. He recognized the vocabulary and the rigid intellectual tone. It sounded exactly like his estranged brother, Ted. David provided the FBI with his brother's private handwritten letters, giving the Bureau a baseline. When agents mapped them against the manifesto, the match was undeniable. The rare vocabulary and reversal of the cake proverb appeared in the correspondence. These patterns gave the task force a name for their suspect, Theodore Kaczynski, a brilliant former professor who disappeared into the Montana wilderness years earlier. A brother's suspicion moved from a hunch to actionable intelligence, because the syntax in these private letters mirrored the public manifesto word for word. Securing a warrant for the remote property was a significant challenge. Without fingerprints or DNA, the FBI had to convince a judge that a suspect's writing style was sufficient grounds for a federal search. Armed with the warrant, agents moved into the woods outside Lincoln, Montana. They surrounded a tiny, primitive cabin miles from the nearest paved road. Kaczynski was taken into custody without a struggle. Inside the small structure, investigators found live explosives and a mountain of evidence that the physical crime scenes had never provided. Among the clutter sat this manual typewriter. Tests confirmed it was the exact tool used to draft the manifesto that led agents to his door. It was a quiet end to a 17-year reign of terror. A man who had successfully evaded the highest levels of American forensic science was finally caught inside a 10 by 12-foot room. The ensuing legal proceedings confirmed Kaczynski's identity as the Unabomber. He was sentenced to life in prison, bringing resolution to the victims and their families. The case established forensic linguistics as a legitimate investigative tool. It proved that the way we use language is not just a form of communication, but a measurable behavior. Even when a criminal meticulously erases every single physical trace, they remain bound by their own unique vocabulary. The way we construct our thoughts creates a pattern that remains long after the bombs have fallen. In the end, the bomber was not caught by what he built, but by how he spoke.